I know people that started bookkeeping businesses just to pay off their family debt. And they had no idea where it was going to go. But the common thread with a lot of people that I work with, a lot of people that I talk to is, they start their business because they want to work for themselves. They end up with a full book. Then they're on overwhelm. They've got way too much work. Of course, they're not charging enough, scope creep, that sort of thing. And they don't realize that they can actually turn this into a business. They've actually created a job for themselves, right?
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be delightful. And I say delightful because we have our returning guest is the one and only Lisa Campbell. She got her amazing Masterclass coming up, and we're going to talk about that and much, much more. Lisa, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back. This is awesome. I love these chats that we have.
I love these chats as well. And, you've been on the podcast several times. I'm sure our listener has heard you before, but for those brand new listeners that may be tuning in, let's start off with just giving a little bit of a backstory into who you are and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Okay. So like most bookkeepers, I was just running a little side hustle, in the corner of my living room and got busier and busier and found out that I could turn it into something else. I could actually have other people doing the work for me if I systemized. So I systemized with Pure Bookkeeping System, thanks to you, Michael. And I brought on team and slowly, built up my business, increased my revenues, brought on better clients, that sort of thing. And eventually managed to remove myself from the day-to-day work of, doing the bookkeeping and focus more on the advisory component. And that freed me up time-wise to go become a Profit First professional. Then I ended up running Profit First Professionals Canada and then creating the Masterclass and the mastermind program, Accelerator to Advisor, to teach other bookkeepers and accountants who do the bookkeeping in their firm to do exactly the same thing. How do you get out of that hamster wheel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just helping people get back to freedom, to do the things that they are passionate about, want to do, and do what you've already done. That's why I absolutely love the work that you do.
Well, and I love the work that I do too, because I see so many bookkeepers that remind me of me, and I think I know the way out. I can show you the way out. Just let me tell you. I'm passionate about it.
Absolutely. And, I think always, whenever we get talking about the past, your bio, and I always remember the call that you and I had. You called me up. You were looking at Pure Bookkeeping. You'd been to an online webinar that I hosted, and you called me up and had this conversation. And my memory of that conversation was just the pure intention that you had, and as well just your transparency of this is the way it is what I'm looking at, is this thing going to work, verifying, right? Trust but verify. Right. And that was almost 10 years ago. I think it's going to be 10 years this year, actually, 2024.
10 years this year. And to that point, I was on a mission. My personal backstory, which I didn't share there, was I was leaving a very toxic marriage, and I was literally 6 figures in debt, and I knew I had to make a move. Yeah. And I watched the webinar and I thought, holy cow, that makes sense. I had no idea, because that toxic ex-husband had said to me, how are you going to turn this into a business? You're a bookkeeper. And I literally said to him, watch me. And then I got on the phone with you and I was like, is this really going to work? Are you sure? And I talked to other licensees and they're like, absolutely. Just follow what they say to do and just do it and you will get there. And I was all in and it worked.
Yeah. Fantastic. And you worked the system, and you were remarkable, because I just remember hearing shortly after you started, the results that you were doing in your business. And that's a testament to how hard you worked and the unstoppability, right? It's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it done. And you did. And I wish more people could do that. I've always wished that all the way along. In everything that I've ever done, I want people to be successful. And so again, that's what I think so many people that have worked with you love, is that it's like you ooze that. They get that from you. It's like, ooze might not be the right word, but
No, but we do. And you and I have that in common. And like one of my coaches, Dan Sullivan, he has this exercise that where you have to identify your unique ability. And we've determined that my unique ability is to have people become aware of the value that they provide, and then use that to transition their businesses to what they want. And so I'm so passionate about it, because I was in that situation. And anybody that I ever work with, I always go back to, your situation right now may not be as dire or as urgent as mine was, but you do have a why. You do have somewhere that you want to go. And, we get the same excuses all the time. I don't have time. I'm buried under all this work, and my clients are bugging me, and there's every excuse in the world. But I tell everyone, you got to stop, reset, move forward in the direction that you want to go, or this time next year, you're going to be in the same boat. So it takes a little more convincing for some people, and maybe their drive has to be a little bit, more. I don't really know what it is, but I do know that you and I both seen so many people transition if they just actually do the work.
That's right.
And they create phenomenal results in their business.
That's right. And I think that's, so everybody needs something different. Everybody's at a different place. And the crazy part of it, though, is that it's not rocket science. Progress and success is not rocket science. I saw a short clip of a speaker who was talking about what it takes to be successful in anything. And his message was 18 minutes a day for a year is 100 hours. And if you focus and do it for 18 minutes a day, focus on whatever your thing is, whether it's playing the violin, the piano, soccer, hockey, building your business. If you spent 18 minutes on a specific focused area, you would be 95% better than anybody else on the planet.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Or better, you'd be better than the 95% of the people out there is what it came down to in that space. So it's not a lot.
Yeah. When I was boxing, we had the sign on the wall, and I'm going to mess this up, but it was something about it's better to know one move that you've practiced 10,000 times than 100 moves that you've practiced 10 times, because you're going to nail that move. And you're going to nail it perfectly every single time, because you put the work into it. You do it over and over and over again. So you're right. You just put a little bit of focus into the direction that you want to go in every single day. I do like to group it into chunks, like a few hours, maybe 3 times a week, but that works as well, depending on what it is you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And that's
just the key is move forward.
The key is move forward. And the key is take the actions, right? Consistently.
Yes.
And it's just always that, we've all done things in our life. I can look at lots of areas of my life where it's like I put things off, and then all of a sudden I go and take it on, do the little things, do them well. And all of a sudden it's like, wow. And I go to myself, why didn't I do that 20 years ago?
Yeah. I think it's like, if you don't want to be that hunched over 80-year-old with the walker, you have to start now. You got to get to the gym and build your strength, right?
That's right.
Where do you want to be when you're 80 years old?
That's right. That's right.
So, and I'm a big person for that too. Like with business, I'm very determined. I will go and go and go, but the gym, that takes a little bit more work for me. I'll do it for 2 weeks and it's great and it's consistent, and then something will come up and I'll stop it, but I have to get better at that. But it's like you said, little bit at a time.
A little bit at a time adds up. It's
I don't have to
compounding
go
effect.
do a 2-hour workout. I can go do a 30-minute stretch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed by compliance and stuck in the cycle of day-to-day bookkeeping tasks? Then it's time to reposition yourself as a high-value advisor and achieve the work-life balance you deserve. On March 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern, Lisa Campbell is kicking off the Accelerator Method Masterclass series, and you won't want to miss it. Discover the actual step-by-step method to escape compliance and overwhelm and build the business that delivers the lifestyle you want to live. Lisa will reveal the secrets to staying on top of everything, meeting deadlines, impressing clients, and attracting high-end clients to command the fees you deserve. This free masterclass series is an incredible learning opportunity to level up your bookkeeping business. Don't miss out. Visit thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/A2A to reserve your seat now. That's thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/A2A. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. So on that note, let's talk about 2024 and how do you recommend people start to prepare for having a great year? I mean, we're into it now. We're closing in on the end of our first month. Sort of when this podcast goes live, we'll be into kind of the middle of quarter one. What should people be doing to make sure they have a great year in 2024?
Well, we actually just did this in the Peer Bookkeeping Licensees community call. We did it a couple weeks ago, where I'm doing now review what you did last year, and then use the momentum from what you accomplished to plan for the next year. We do it by quarters in that community. But when you're looking at 2024, the biggest thing people forget to do is pat themselves on the back for the progress that they did make in 2023. You know, there's that never-ending to-do list. I have to systemize. I have to have a workflow. I've got to hire a team. I've got to advertise. I've got to change my branding. I need a website. All of that. People just, constantly harp on all the things that they need to do. But what they fail to do, not everybody, but a lot of people that I've seen, they fail to look back at what they actually did do. They actually did get half their clients systemized. They actually did learn a workflow software. They actually did, maybe go on YouTube and say something. Maybe it's not the full marketing campaign that they wanted to do, but they actually took a step forward. So when we do these review things, we actually go over what did you do? And then take momentum from that. You took a baby step. Let's take it to the next step. Where did you get fired up? Where did you find the most progress? Where did you find the most benefit? So for example, if we're talking about systemizing, if you look back and say, okay, I got half my clients systemized, take the momentum from that and realize that freed up, 5 hours in my week because I put that onto somebody else. So why don't I sort of move forward in that direction, get the rest of my clients systemized, bring on another team member. So that's kind of how you plan for the next year. Well, this is what I have to do quarter one to get to my next goal of bringing on maybe a new team member, quarter two. I'm just using this as an example. But look at what you have done, build on the momentum, and then break it down into small chunks to see where do you want to land at the end of 2024.
It sounds...
I'm a big reverse engineering person.
That's right. And
right?
It's important. And one of the key things that you said there, or points you made, was people get overwhelmed with all the things that they need to do. They don't look at what they've done. And that also can be defeating for people. If you're not looking at that, then you're going to feel like you're not making any progress. And as well, when you're setting goals or setting objectives, if there's too much, then that doesn't create momentum. It's like standing at the big pile of things that you need to do. And that's not inviting. But if you pick one thing out of that pile, get that thing completed, celebrate that thing, it creates momentum.
It does. And here's the thing. Most people that in your listeners are bookkeeping business owners. They're entrepreneurs. We are very creative people. Our to-do list is never going to be wiped out, because that's the way our brains work. Once we get to this level, we're going to go on to something else, and we're going to do something else after that. So there's always going to be a to-do. You've got to look at, what have I done on this to-do list? What is the most important thing I can do on this to-do list to propel me forward? But the key, like you said, is to acknowledge what you have done. Because if you're constantly looking at this never-ending list in front of you, it's very demotivating. You think, why am I doing this? You're not recognizing that as you're checking off all these things that you're doing, you're actually moving yourself up as in your position in your business, the maybe the level of client that you're working with, the volume that you're working with, the team that you're bringing on. You're leveling up each time you check off a little to do, and you're getting to where you want to go. But the key to that is to know where you want to go. What do you want to do? What do you want your business to be? And then break it down backwards.
Break it down. I think it's actually on a podcast we did quite some time ago. I believe it was our conversation when you think about a business, is people often get started building a business and they don't think too much about what they want that business to actually do for them. It's like, oh, I want a business. It's like, well, what do you want that business to do for you? Because if you don't have that figured out, then you're just building something, and you could be building something awful that will lead you into something that you don't actually have. So how, we sort of talk a little bit about it, but how do you see this with clients you work with, and how do you help them shift this?
This is such a common theme. A common theme, especially with bookkeepers, because a lot of us do start off as a side hustle. I know people that started bookkeeping businesses just to pay off their family debt, and they had no idea where it was going to go. But the common thread with a lot of people that I work with, a lot of people that I talk to, is, they start their business because they want to work for themselves. They end up with a full book. Then they're on overwhelm. They've got way too much work. Of course, they're not charging enough, scope creep, that sort of thing. And they don't realize that they can actually turn this into a business. They've actually created a job for themselves, right? I mean, I remember I couldn't take vacation. I had to take my laptop with me because my clients needed me and there were deadlines to meet. How am I supposed to take off? There's nobody else doing the work. But if you systemize it, right, and you bring other people on, there's a way to build a business around that. But the common thread there is a lot of people do go into business thinking they're creating a business. They're actually creating a job. It's a great job. And they've done that for themselves. They've created a living. And I always pat them on the back for that. But you've got to look at, okay, once you're full up, what do you want to do now? Do you want to stay as a job, or do you want to actually turn this into a business? Because then if you're going to turn it into a business, there are changes that have to happen.
So true. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you realize that, the sooner you realize the opportunity that's in front of you with a bookkeeping business, the better, right? Just as we've sort of outlined. Now,
yes, but there's a lot of fear there.
Let's talk about the fear.
There's a lot of fear. Well, the fear is, okay, you start the business up, your clients love you, it's your name on the door. How are you going to bring somebody else on and know that they're doing the same quality of work? That's your name on the door. What if something goes wrong and you have double the work to do now? Like there's a lot of fear around that. There's also a lot of procrastination and excuse. Like I said, I don't have time. I don't have time to systemize because, if I don't systemize, I can't bring a team member on. I don't have time. I don't have time, or my clients won't be okay with it. All sorts of excuses. And that's okay. Maybe you are better suited to have a lifestyle business where you do the work, you get paid, and that's it. But then there are those who know that they can turn it into something else.
Comes back to that. What are you trying to build? What do you want to have it? And not with the filter of, that's the other thing. People build plans with the limiting beliefs, a filter of limiting beliefs. And that's not good, because you set boundaries and barriers and limits to what's possible. And it's like, oh, well, I want to have freedom, but I know I can't have that much freedom. So just a little bit of freedom. I just want a little bit of freedom. Whereas if you said, look, I want to have 90% of my week free, but most people say that's not possible, right?
Right.
But if you didn't, if you set out to have the 90% free, you're more likely to get that than if you go, well, just a little bit is all I get and all I deserve and all I think I can achieve.
Yeah. Yes. And it's totally a limiting belief. Yes. And the other limiting belief, this is another common thread, like I hear this all the time, is that inner voice that says, I'm just a bookkeeper. How can I possibly provide any value to my client? How can I advise a client? People don't realize we are in deep with the books. We get the story that the numbers are telling. We are the best ones to talk to the clients about what their numbers are doing and how their money is moving. So that that belief about I'm just a bookkeeper, especially people are hung up on degrees. You got to have all these letters after your name. No, you don't. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to be able to analyze the output of what you or your team have done and recognize trends and stuff. And of course, you can learn how to do this, right? But a lot of people do, even without formal training. Just got to get rid of that limiting belief of I'm just a bookkeeper.
Yeah, so true. And what you're talking
Bookkeepers
about,
are crucial.
absolutely crucial. And great ones do such a great job that the owners, the deep emotional value that's gained by a business owner working with a great bookkeeper is just immeasurable. Like it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless.
Oh, and that's part of my personal mission is to make sure that everybody understands their value. And so in my work, my whole thing is changing the way bookkeepers and business owners are working together. Because there is no need, in my opinion, for any business owner to struggle if they can partner with the right bookkeeper who can actually interpret the numbers and set them on a course for success rather than just watching them, especially cash flow issues, watching them rob Peter to pay Paul every month and the stress and the borrowing. You see this in the transactions that you're recording. And like myself personally, I remember thinking, I can fix this. Like I can't stand where I would never live like this. I've got to fix this for this guy, right? And I've had grown men on my calls, my Zoom meetings, actually crying because first of all, there's that, oh my God, what have I done? And then I'm never going to get out of this. And then when they do come out of it, they're crying because they're like, oh my God, I got out of it, and my business is running smooth and this is fantastic. And now I can build wealth and, so, and I'm just a bookkeeper. I mean, I've got some other training too, but I don't have like 5,000 financial degrees. It's just, I started off the same way everybody else did.
That's right. That's right. And it's truly valuable. And I mean, I can't stress that enough. Huge opportunity, not going away anytime soon to help people cut through the noise and the fog in terms of finances, government regulation, tax, everything that has to happen for a business, being able to have them very clear on where they are financially, that doesn't get less valuable.
No. And it's getting more and more, I don't know if the word's commonplace, but business owners are starting to realize that we are the people to talk to. You don't need to spend, I'm not discrediting, fractional CFOs and all that stuff. I'm not discrediting them at all. I'm saying if you can pair with a bookkeeper who could actually interpret the data and set you on course, they're starting to realize that these bookkeepers exist. And the bookkeepers, I mean, what everybody talks about, oh, AI is going to take over bookkeeping and stuff like that. No, it's not. It might take over some of the actual entry, but you still need a human being to analyze, to review, make sure everything's done properly. And that's the key is right there. Your time is not going to be spent clicking away on a keyboard. Your time is going to be more valuable now because you're going to be interpreting that data. That's what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, very, very exciting. Using the tools for efficiency, it just opens up a whole opportunity. Now,
and there's analytical tools as well. Like there's cash flow tools and reporting tools and dashboards and all sorts of stuff that we can bring in to what we do to add value to our services.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the Masterclass, and I was just reviewing a bit of the Masterclass, the Accelerator Method Masterclass, which you have one coming up in March, and
March 4th.
It's chock-a-block with filled.
It's what?
Chock-a-block. That's an Australian term. When I lived down in Australia,
then.
I love these little sayings that come out of these different countries. But chock-a-block.
I heard one this morning. She said, "You might blow your clogs."
You might blow your clogs.
I'm not even going to tell you what it means.
Oh boy.
Anyway.
I'll have to think about that and try and figure it out. So it's chock-a-block. It's filled with amazing opportunities for learning. It's completely free, which is, and you've been doing this a while. I mean, there's just so many that have gone through it. So many people come back and do it again and again and again.
I've got people gone through it 7 times. Yeah, they just keep coming back. It's great.
It is great, and it speaks to the value. And I thought it would be kind of cool just to talk a little bit about some of the bullet points that I pulled off of your website and talk about, okay, a little bit, maybe each. We don't need to go too deep into it, but give people an idea.
Sure.
Because we have been talking a little bit about that in this podcast, which is, hey, build the business of your dreams is basically what it comes down to. And when we say dreams, it's your life dreams, the life you want to lead, the lifestyle you want to have, and build a business that's going to deliver that, fuel that. That's exciting. That's a great opportunity. So the first one, attracting the right clients. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about attracting the right clients in your business. Why is that important?
Oh, because you don't want to deal with can I swear? Pain in the ass clients?
We'll allow it. Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll call them PITAs, but a lot of people don't know what PITA client means. So that's what it means. I won't repeat it. But who wants to spend their days dealing with someone who's breathing down their neck, who's never giving you the information you need, who's bottlenecking you, who doesn't see what, the value that you're providing, who argues your fees and all and pays you late and all that stuff? Why would you want to work with someone like that? I'll quote Jeffrey Shaw on this. Jeffrey Shaw, love him, great author, great speaker. He said once in one of his keynotes, it is not your job to convince somebody of your value. It is your job to find the people who already value what you do. So the PITA clients are the ones you're trying to convince all the time of what it is you're doing, why you're charging what you're charging, why you need what you need on time. The other ones that find you, that value you, those are your ideal clients. So it's important to attract those clients because that's who you want to work with every day. You're building your business. You don't want to, if you don't want to work with kids, why would you go be a teacher? Right?
Yes. No, absolutely. And to then jump to same kind of theme, but filtering out non-ideal clients.
Well, okay, so that ties into the PITA clients, but more so what I teach in that is how to, in your intake process, that's even before they get to you, you want to eliminate the tire kickers, the ones who are shopping on price, the ones who aren't even using a software that you use. A lot of people have narrowed down to one specific accounting software. You don't want to go learn another one. It's a way of eliminating, I don't want to work with retail or manufacturing. So that's going to be in my intake process. Why would I spend time on a discovery call, 30 minutes to an hour, with someone I'm not possibly going to work with in the future? Absolutely. So you're eliminating automatically through your intake process people that you are never going to work with. And I go into more detail on it.
Yeah.
But let me back this up before we go to more bullet points.
Yes.
Okay. What I usually jump off with when I do that masterclass is what you're actually creating. It's your ecosystem. Okay. And for those of you that can't see this visually, you're just listening to it. I'm holding my hands in a circle like a ball. And that ball it's a bubble. I call it a bubble. And that bubble is your business. All right. So everything that goes on inside your business is what goes on inside your business. But outside that bubble is all the other businesses that want to work with you. So in order to come into your bubble, they have to go through a process. Are they ideal? Can they get into our business? Then you have to look at what goes on inside your business to the point where they exit the bubble. There's a whole process. That's what you're doing. And then that's what we talk about in the masterclass. And there's all, like you said, chunks or blocks, whatever you called it. Each of these is part of building that entire ecosystem out.
Beautiful. I absolutely love that. And that really does sum up what we're trying to deliver. We've had people on our show that have taken your program. And
the mastermind program or the masterclass?
The master, both actually. We've had people who've got.
I've heard them.
You've heard the episodes where they come on just from the master class. That, and I think that's why people come back again and again and again. Is that every single class there's new information, it's different, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for people to sit down and really think about their business, listen to you, listen to the concepts, start applying them in their business. And then the people who go on and work with you in your year-long program, I mean, that's just like you put the jetpacks on, the accelerator right into it,
right
actually
in their back pocket.
get the work, get the work done.
Yeah. I actually I encourage even people who are in that year-long mastermind program, I encourage them to go through the masterclass again, because when they're in the mastermind program, they're working on the deep stuff of each of those issues. And then I tell them to go back to the masterclass to look at that sort of high-level view of what it is they're actually building. And it's a total refresher for them. They love it.
Beautiful. And that speaks to everyone's at a different stage. And so when people go into business and they're working on their business, it's not like anyone just eventually says, well, there's nothing left for me to do to improve my business or it's like it just constantly,
how is that going to happen?
It just constantly, you overcome a challenge, you achieve a milestone, you create new milestones, you keep on going. So when you hear something once, you take what you learn from it, you go and apply it. When you come back, you're going to hear things that you wouldn't have been able to hear before because you didn't have the mastery of achieving. You need to jump over those hoops in order to be able to even understand the next concept, to look back and say, now I understand what that person's talking about because I went and failed and then succeeded and learned all these things. And now I can take on this. I think that's another reason why it's important to continually review and be surrounding yourself with people who are at different levels and constantly feeding back the information you may have already heard, but not necessarily been able to understand and apply.
Yes. And also different perspective.
Yes.
We get in our own heads sometimes, right? And so having that group of people that are at different stages and get the input from them and the encouragement or the different perspective of a situation, it's so valuable. Like it's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's coming up. That is happening very soon. We'll have a link in the show notes for anyone to get there. If you are just one of those people who can remember how to get to things, you can, I'll make it real easy. You can go to accelerate2advisor.com, and that's a number 2, accelerate2advisor.com to get to that program and sign up for free. And Lisa, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. I'd love to ask as a last sort of parting question is there anything new that you want to share with our listener that you might be taking on in this upcoming class?
Well, it's not that it's new. What I find is every time I do this class, obviously I have an outline, like a wireframe of what I'm going to talk about. But the beauty of the way we deliver it in this format, just for those of you who don't know, it's an hour a day for 5 days straight. And then there's recordings on the weekend with extra trainings. And then another hour a day, we wrap up the final session on the Monday. What it is because it's live and interactive, I go with what you're giving me. So I look at other participants, we comment, and I ask for comments, and I will go off on a tangent. So if I'm going through a part that I need to cover, it's a lot of the same content, it just kind of goes off on sidelines, and I'll ask for a comment and somebody will say something or somebody will post an issue, I will go off on a tangent on that, and it's a whole other discussion. And then we get input from everybody else, very interactive. I encourage everybody, and I tell them right from day one, I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing it for you. And I want you to be engaged. I want you to be involved. No hiding in the shadows. I want to know that you're here. We give away prizes and all that stuff. We make it a lot of fun. So not that there's any new specific teaching. The teaching comes from the new teaching comes from the interaction of the participants.
Got it.
That makes sense?
It totally does. You hear, and it's like I said, you hear new things, whether you've heard it the same, whether it's the same thing being said, you're always hearing new things.
And I'm known for going off on a tangent. I have to reel myself in because I hear something good and then I have to go there.
Beautiful. Well, you know what? It's so exciting, and it's a privilege to be able to support the Accelerate to Advisor program, all the programs that you do. I mean, when we talk about the community, the successful bookkeeper community, the aim is to help bookkeepers build businesses they love, and your program offers that. And this program that we're talking about is free. Such a great added value, and we're really happy to be partnering with you. And
that's why we work so well together, because we have the same mission. Let's do it. Let's make everybody successful.
Exactly. Lisa, always a pleasure. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and on behalf of our listener, thank you for your generosity and sharing what you know.
Thank you so much for having me back. I always love talking to you.
Beautiful. And I know you will be back and we'll have another conversation soon, I'm sure.
All right. Anytime.
Wonderful. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.